So I'll say hello before we put up the slides.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, recording, got it. So before you put up the slide, I just want to say I'm very honored to be here today, especially on the hip-hop ready on the hip-hop version, probably standard, not simple guided secret services or Europe, and the first experiences, resilient and capability of ever tool. And I think this event, this from the program, and reminds me of when we were in the deep pandemic together with our network and CareersNet. We worked on several projects. In one case was a collection of papers on professionalism in the digital context. Thibault remembers a rethinking right as change was unfolding. And at that time, practitioners, policy makers, and others noticed that there were missing standards, common or shared definitions, what services were closed, and the cooperation was not well established online in the cross countries when regulations or professional rules feel unclear or not, would say, up to date or ready for a crisis, and when services and processes let online. I was still new to my job, so we did the best we could do, and the network was a really important contact point for evidence, and so we put all our ideas together and that other stakeholders, experts, and we predicted at the time that for years after new standards, profiles, arrangements, rethinking frameworks would be needed, and updating and also peer learning. And that even more than before would be needed the involvement of more actors, not only inside public offices and ministries, but also in civil society and community actors and professional associations after this kind of shock of the pandemic, searching for boundaries and directions. So it took a crisis to demonstrate that no single service or provider or practitioner could do the job alone. So, and it requires strategic competencies. So this pace of, shock and change was an impetus to reinforce quality concepts and do so collectively to enhance knowledge, skills, and competencies in the career workforce. So now we have added other crises and transitions we hear of regarding demographic change, aging, and also better integrated youth into the labor market, socio-ecological changes, greening, geopolitical and financial constraints, and so on. So it's really crucial to have some kind of, agreement on common standards and guidelines, and also for the public. So I'm very honored to be here. You can start my slides if you like, Thibault.
Okay, so now your slides are visible, and there is a slide. Okay, because of the I imagine that is it.
Okay, great. So I just put up the first, so the second slide, not the cover slide, but the second slide is just for those of you who don't know, CEDEFOP, the Center for Vocational Education Training in Thessaloniki. We're one of several EU decentralized agencies, an old one, founded in 1975, and we're focused on VET, but not only VET, on skills and qualification. We're not a VET provider, of course, and we do not make new policies, but our research and policy support activities are quite diverse. So we do all this to shape future-ready skills development and learning systems, and also to help everyone find a common ground in the EU and to support the countries. So we facilitate and promote cooperation as part of our mission with a range of actors and stakeholders. We have a tripartite organization with governments and social partners. I'm a policy officer from the Department for Vet and Skills. We can see on the slide, I'm speaking to you from, let's say, there's several layers from the lifelong guide strand within the support policies area, and then we have experts in financing, foundation, statistics, and and myself, I'm the full guides. So the next slide, just everyone here is no doubt familiar with the general meaning of phone guidance. The next one then. So there's the general meaning of guidance and also career guidance. So we are just showing this to underline that we do, this is our understanding as well. So the starting point, it's important, I think, because it's other organizations and agencies also use the similar definitions, at least they have, but of course, and it's important to underline the enabling process, decision-making, management of paths, and also where information provision is essential. So next slide. So focus today, I was asked to talk about the network independent experts CareersNet, and then by association, its inventory CEDEFOP maintains with contributions on the network. So the network, CareersNet, are independent and voluntary experts. They contribute their time, information, ideas, often after working hours, on weekends, to the extent that they can. But we have a few priorities that all members participate in who are active, and which also helps CEDEFOP inform policy development. And that's the inventory and also our annual meetings. The network has a think tank value. It was created in 2016, and we had our first meeting in 2017 to facilitate cooperation, knowledge capacity building, specialized peer learning, and also to enhance the identification of gaps and advances in the development of policy and systems. So members provide feedback on our work that aims to benefit all the stakeholders. And while generating a new knowledge and evidence and drawing on the Pewaukee research, the members engage in capacity building exchange with members in our different venues. And the members, in terms of their background, they have recognized expertise in career development. They have a relationship with their national and local networks with backgrounds in research, program management, practice and trained practitioners, and also management of guidance services, skills bodies, and policy work, say technical policy work across diverse sectors, public and private, and in addition to civil society. So the members, since they come from across the sectors, education, training, and the labor market. Some have very long-term experience who've been with us for many years. We have just 3 people retire who were to the network a long time. And then we have some that are just joining with less experience that we're still, let's say, orienting to a network. So one priority I mentioned besides our meeting is the inventory, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Finally, the selection. So the selection of the experts is based on call for interest in becoming a network expert, and evaluation and nomination by our management. The call remains open where we have countries that are available. So we are looking for people from several countries where we do not have experts. So if anyone's interested, you could contact us for more information. We have both core and alternate experts. Next slide. This is just a list of some of our activities. We have internal events and meetings. We have also access to joint and externally organized conferences, and also one coming up in May, which is an internally organized conference. The network facilitates cooperation with different stakeholders while during the production of the inventory records. We have the thematic reports and ad hoc contributions of different kinds. And the members give us feedback on the agency work, such as tools that aims to benefit all of the European stakeholders, and members essentially share their views, their information and evidence, They engage in peer learning, and they propose, well-informed ideas based on their expertise and knowledge. They do not directly represent the institutions or the countries, and that's really important to underline. Next slide. So then the next slide will be about the actual products. So we have the inventory, as I mentioned. We have a project I'll mention in the next. That's the framework, and this are guidelines. We have working papers, as I mentioned, and briefing notes. We also have authored papers. So the members contribute, let's say, as contributors, as authors, and also to, let's say, joint projects and collective work. Next slide. This is just a colorful reminder of our network's main events. Most of these are annual meetings that have taken place both online, with and without partners, in person, and connection with conferences and workshops. We were in, for example, Rome, Sweden, Finland, and we had some joint activity during different presidency periods with Slovenia, Germany, Czechia, also online. And I started in 2018, but before that, when the network was new, we had a meeting in 2017 in Estonia, when the network was already established, and this was organized with the Estonian presidency in September 2017. The other two up on the upper right corner, were not, let's say, specific CareersNet events, but they were events where CareersNet played, I would say, an essential role. One was the webinar last year, and the other was a workshop in 2022 on monitoring toward common standards for monitoring and evaluation. Okay, next slide. And the inventory, there are little words here. I didn't have we don't have time for an interactive journey through the inventory, but we have this inventory of systems and practices for which CareersNet has technical responsibility. It's one of those priority activities to update periodically depending on everyone's, time schedule availability, and also on reform if there have been changes in the country that have an impact on the guided system. So the inventory includes all countries where we have or have had network experts. It was launched in 2020 and it continues today, and that's all available online. You can find it on the website under, I think it's under country reports and within in the Life on Guides project. Next slide. So, what I should have mentioned before is that the inventory is based on the 2015 ELJPN guidelines for policies and systems development, which CEDEFOP was also involved with, and the structure is reflected in the current structure on the left and right is inventory, which I didn't show you before, but it's very similar to what you're looking at here. So the content the content of the inventory is based on a selection of content and use of the member, and it's a priority activity. So we saw a need because of all the changes in society to revisit this content and the structure, and to also update the template of the inventory while we update our lifelong guidance framework, let's say our overall framework on how we approach career guidance and lifelong guidance. So I mentioned this was a kind of an ad hoc but a priority activity, and we had a dedicated network working group, which Tibor is a member of a working group selected by CEDEFOP management. And this is not the focus of today. We didn't want to show you as an example. With all the changes in society, education and training, the labor market, and new policies, our journey, let's say, to a new framework built on the previous work was carried out with the input and support of CareersNet, and also supported by the European Commission, Finnish Institute of Educational Research, the ETF, and ILO, among others, and also supported by the network. The joint global vision of the interagency working group on career guidance was also a reference point in terms of the content and the vision behind the framework. And those, let's say those career guides working group leaflets are also available on our website and on the website of our partner organizations, OECD, ILO, European Commission, the ETF, World Bank, and the UNESCO. You can find them there as well. Finally, I will end here. I do want to take too much of your time today with the reference again, as I mentioned in the very beginning, to the collective and also offered contributions of CareersNet, of network experts, and their joint efforts. So the collection of papers, which is on the one side, you can see on the screen, we did during the pandemic, professionalism in the digital context. And this is a working paper collection of the network. And in some cases, the network would say experts joined with other experts and stakeholders and produce this work, his collection of papers. And that led to what we called a briefing note, which consolidates and streamlines the information. So to our Department of Communications, we work together to, let's say, choose some topics that to put in the brief note. So this simplifies information for policy, which is then shared with our key stakeholders. And then all of this is produced, published online for free and to benefit the public. In fact, CEDEFOP has some new formats now. We don't publish the briefing notes anymore, but we have other types of briefing notes which you can find online. And then the other thumbnail on picture is from the other working paper series from 2022. I mentioned earlier an expert workshop on monitoring and evaluation in my firm Gaia's. We had a workshop with it was open to everybody. It was outside of CareersNet as well. And this was on the occasion of a study that CEDEFOP conducted at the time. And some of the network experts wrote papers and they presented their papers in the workshop. Very interesting workshop, I think. And also the Lifelong Guidance Inventory contents were drawn on to produce also some background, let's say some background for these papers. So that's all I have for you now. I wanted to thank you very much again to Ibor and colleagues for inviting me to your event, and I wish you a very wonderful time today.